My entitled mother showed up at my house and demanded I hand it over to her because my younger sister is pregnant and needs it more than I do. I'm a 2-year-old man, financially stable, living with my girlfriend in the home my late father left me. And until that moment, I genuinely believed I was done dealing with my family's drama. I was wrong. Very wrong. My sister, Hannah, is 27 and has been my mother's golden child for as long as I can remember. Growing up, it was painfully obvious who mattered more. My mother always excused Hannah's behavior, praised her for the bare minimum, and blamed everyone else when things went wrong. I, on the other hand, was expected to obey without question. My mother was the kind of person who believed snapping her fingers was an acceptable way to get someone's attention, and she did it to me constantly. It didn't matter how old I got. To her, I was never an adult, just someone she could control. My parents divorced when I was 15, after my mother cheated on my father with an old boyfriend from high school. The divorce was ugly, bitter, and full of manipulation. Afterward, I chose to live with my dad full-time, while my sister stayed with our mother. Looking back, it made sense. They were practically the same person. Both of them barely spoke to my father unless it involved money, and both seemed to think he existed only to provide for them. My dad, meanwhile, focused on rebuilding his life. He was a disciplined, practical man who ran a small but successful business. When I turned 16, he started teaching me how it worked. I didn't love it at first, but I respected him, and over time I became good at it. Really good. I worked hard through my late teens and 20s, and after 12 years, my father made me a partner in the company. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building something real. Then, 8 months ago, everything collapsed. My father passed away at 61 after catching COVID. Years of heavy smoking had weakened his lungs, and his body couldn't fight it. Because of restrictions, the funeral was small and remote. The first time I saw my mother and sister in years was through a screen. My sister cried. My mother looked bored. That didn't surprise me. The last time she'd spoken to my father, she screamed at him about money and threatened legal action, even though he had already paid everything he ever legally owed her: alimony, child support, even a sizable contribution to my sister's education. She wasn't poor. She owned her house outright, had a stable job, and rented out rooms for extra income. She just wanted more. My father's will was read shortly after the funeral. He had always been realistic about his health and had prepared accordingly. Nearly everything went to me: the house, the business assets, and most of his savings. My sister received a car and some cash. My mother received a small amount and a few personal items. I didn't celebrate. I would have given it all up just to have my dad back. My girlfriend moved in with me, and we started settling into a quiet routine. Meanwhile, my sister's life looked very different. She had dropped out of school years earlier, worked sporadically online, and relied heavily on her boyfriend to support her. She had previously lost a pregnancy, something I only learned about later because we were no contact. When the pandemic hit, her boyfriend's hours were cut, money got tight, and then she got pregnant again. She started calling it her miracle baby. One evening, without warning, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, my mother and sister walked straight inside like they owned the place. No greeting, no invitation. My sister immediately began wandering through the house, opening doors, peeking into rooms, commenting on the layout. My mother dropped onto my couch and snapped her fingers at me, demanding a bottle of water. When I asked why they were there, my sister shouted from down the hallway that the house was perfect. My mother smiled and said it was time for me to step up and do my duty as a brother. She explained very confidently that since my father was gone, the house should belong to her, and that I needed to correct this mistake by giving it to my pregnant sister. She even suggested I could stay in one bedroom and continue paying the bills until I found somewhere else to live. I felt like I'd stepped into a bad dream. I calmly told her that wasn't happening, that the house was legally mine, that she had no authority here. My mother's expression changed instantly. She snapped her fingers again and said she was my mother, that she was in charge, and that I owed her obedience. Then she said something I'll never forget. She said she was basically God in my life, and when she spoke, I was supposed to obey. She told me to consider myself evicted and gave me 2 weeks to sign the house over. That's when I pulled out my phone and started dialing the police. She jumped up, knocked the phone out of my hand, and tried to stomp on it. When she struck me, I defended myself and warned her to leave immediately. My sister rushed between us, crying and begging me to do the right thing and help her for once. Something inside me snapped. I reminded her that I'd been working since I was a teenager, that I paid my own way, that I earned what I had. I reminded her that she had been coddled, spoiled, and protected from consequences her entire life. I told them both to get out. My mother then tried one last tactic. She threatened to lie to the police and accuse me of abusing a pregnant woman. That's when I pointed out that my girlfriend had been recording everything: the assault, the threats, the lies. My mother's confidence evaporated instantly. She dragged my sister out of the house, though not without a full tantrum on my porch. Eventually, they left. I thought it was over. It wasn't. Days later, relatives began messaging me angrily. My mother and sister had posted lies online, claiming I stole the house and bribed a lawyer. I gathered screenshots, contacted my lawyer, who had also been my father's lawyer, and sent them a formal legal warning. When my mother realized I was serious, everything disappeared. She issued a weak apology. My sister followed, blaming hormones and pressure. The truth eventually came out. My sister moved into my mother's basement with her boyfriend, and now they seem to be turning on each other. As for me, I finally learned something important. The hardest family boundaries to set are often the most necessary. And if you think this was bad, this is only part 1. Part 2 somehow gets even worse.